Now, DaBaby after his comments, what happened? How is he doing as of right now? Do you remember how DaBaby had the whole world against him a few months back after what he said on that stage? I'm pretty sure you do. I wanted to take a look at some of the things that happened after that I never got the chance to cover. On top of that, I also wanted to talk a little bit about how his music is doing after what he said on that stage. With that being said, let's talk about it. Now, DaBaby, let's go. Kinda crazy how much that entire DaBaby situation blew up. Him saying what he said on that stage, you know, the HIV, AIDS, and sucking dick in the parking lot comments brought him a crazy amount of backlash. I don't know about you, but I feel like DaBaby was the most hated man on the planet for a good minute. We of course saw a bunch of influential people speaking out against him. Pop star Dua Lipa denounced him. Elton John also had a little bit of smoke for DaBaby as well. That was very surprising. DaBaby was quote unquote canceled by a lot of people, and yeah, people were on DaBaby's ass. After that whole incident, a couple things happened. By the way, these things might not be news to you, but I never got the chance to cover them, so that's why I'm making this video. But I digress. One of the things that happened was this. DaBaby had a virtual private meeting with a couple black representatives / leaders from 9 different HIV organizations. The leaders called for a meeting with DaBaby in early August through an open letter right after he said what he said on that stage, and DaBaby swiftly accepted the meeting. The purpose of this meeting was to educate DaBaby, and from what I've read, it sounds like they got through to him. During our meeting, DaBaby was genuinely engaged, apologized for the inaccurate and hurtful comments he made about people living with HIV, and received our personal stories and truth about HIV and its impact on black and LGBT communities with deep respect. They also said during our meeting, DaBaby acknowledged that the HIV facts we presented, many of which he himself was unaware of, are what every American needs to know. HIV is preventable and when treated properly cannot be passed on. Sounds like it was a really healthy conversation. They also said something else that I was really a fan of, which is this. The open letter to DaBaby was our way to extend him to the same grace each of us would hope for. Our goal was to call him in instead of calling him out. Now, there was a lot of not only calling DaBaby out after the controversial words he said on that stage, but a lot of people were straight up slamming him, which I understand to some extent because, you know, what he said was ignorant. However, it is refreshing to see that at least one organization decided to take the high road by focusing on education instead of just criticizing. Now, another thing that happened was Dave Chappelle. Now, you guys know Dave Chappelle, right? An iconic comedian who's been doing it big for a while. Dave Chappelle is a legend out here. But Dave Chappelle recently dropped a Netflix special, and on that Netflix special, he had a couple things to say about this entire DaBaby situation.
DaBaby was the #1 streaming artist until about a couple weeks ago. He took a nasty spill on stage and said some wild stuff about the LGBTQ community during a concert in Florida. A lot of the LGBTQ community doesn't know DaBaby's history. He's a wild guy. He once shot a nigga and killed him in Walmart. Oh, this is true. Google it. DaBaby shot and killed a nigga in Walmart in North Carolina. Nothing bad happened to his career. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Now, I can't even lie, man, that segment was funny. As you could hear though, he was bringing up the fact that DaBaby has a body under his belt, aka he's killed a man, which is true. He was making a point that people didn't draw the line there, they're instead drawing the line at his comments on that stage. Where I don't agree with what Dave Chappelle said though is the fact that the body DaBaby does have under his belt was a case of self-defense. We're of course talking about that Walmart shooting that took place back in 2018 where DaBaby ended up killing 19-year-old Jalen Craig. The charges against him ended up being dropped, and DaBaby maintained that the incident was a matter of self-defense all the way to the end until the charges got dropped. Aside from that though, after his comments, how is DaBaby doing music-wise? Well, for starters, his Spotify monthly listeners are pretty damn solid. We're talking over 41 million monthly listeners. He's also among the top 33 most listened to artists globally on Spotify, so on that end, he's doing pretty damn good. And also, if you remember, DaBaby did actually drop a song and music video titled "Giving What It's Supposed to Give" as a response to the controversy. That was right after his comments. Aside from that, he's consistently for a couple months been dropping a couple freestyles on YouTube just to feed his fans. They've been doing semi-good. On top of that, he also dropped a collaboration and music video with the one and only Lil Wayne titled "Lonely." That's also been doing pretty good on YouTube. Looking back on his situation in hindsight, how much of an effect did DaBaby's comments really have on his career? I would say that initially he definitely did take a pretty strong strong hit considering number one, he got dropped from a handful of festivals. Let's not forget that. Let's also not forget the fact that he lost out on that partnership with that clothing company from the UK. On top of that, like I said earlier, DaBaby was the most hated man on social media for a good minute after all. In the long run though, at least looking back on it now a few months later, I can't say that it's looking like it will have too big an effect on his career long term. It was a very hectic few weeks for him, that's for sure, but ultimately social media moves on pretty damn fast. I think we all can agree with that. But yeah, DaBaby after his comments, what happened? Well, I talked about two things that I didn't get a chance to cover, and we also talked a little bit about how he's doing at the moment and whether or not what he said on that stage had an effect on his career. Enough of what I have to say. Do you have any thoughts on this topic? Definitely let me know in the comment section below, and let's have a discussion about this.